and I am so glad that you are here today to this Healthy Sweets workshop. My name is Erlene Tilton, and I really enjoy teaching about better ways that we can improve our health. And I think at this time of year and many times throughout the year, we have times where we like to do fun treats and sweets. And so I'm hoping that the information that you hear tonight that I share will be helpful to you. Now, if you didn't get the worksheet copied off, I did put the link in the chat. And if you're listening to the recording, I'm putting the link below. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Since we all like to eat sweets, at least on occasion, why not learn, number one, what to avoid that affects our health negatively, what to use instead to support our health positively, or at least not create a negative result. And number three, how to become more proactive in our food and drink choices. So I think we actually all need all of these. So we're going to go through what we can avoid and what we could use instead. And maybe I can help you with ways to be more proactive that can help you as well. So what is sugar and why is it so harmful? Sugar, it does come from sugar cane, sugar beets. We get sugar products from barley and corn, agave, and even fruits themselves. The refinement is the process because it removes all of the vitamins and minerals and the fiber, anything that's really good and beneficial to the body. Of course, we have a need for carbs, yes, but this is a pure carb without the nutrients and fiber, which causes addiction. But beyond that, it's also bleached, chemicals added, enhanced, and most of these are genetically modified foods to begin with. And that can be a real problem. So the problem is it quickly enters our bloodstream. Because we don't have those nutrients and fiber, it goes in very quickly, raises our blood sugar levels, which creates those unhealthy spikes, but it also creates the blood sugar imbalances. Sugar is acidic, it is stagnant in the gut, and it settles in your joints. So research confirms the overuse of sugar and other processed sugars cause the weight gain, the bloating, and sluggish gut. Most people I work with have a sluggish gut, hands down, and it's usually too much sugar. Blood sugar imbalances. Most people, again, that I work with are either hypoglycemic or diabetic. Most people are hypoglycemic, and that's just kind of a forerunner to diabetes. And if you don't understand that process, let me know. I can explain that later. It is an increased risk for heart disease. It creates addictions, mood and emotional balances. That is one of the number one things that causes mood and emotional balances, lack of energy, lack of sleep, lack of drive and contentment, and just joy in life. So here are the underlying results of eating sugar that most people really don't realize. And I kind of just highlighted some of these so that we can kind of see them at a glance. These are the causes from sugar: bad body odor, disease, inflammation, which we know leads to disease. It accelerates the aging process. It causes arthritis and gout. It is the biggest culprit for leaky gut. Now, I want to just stop there and help us understand what leaky gut is, because that's where the acidity and processed foods, mainly your carbs, your sugars and your grain carbs, because of lack of nutrients, lack of fiber, it can sit in the gut. And eventually, because the high acidity, it can create those perforations in the gut lining. And we have undigested food that's leaking out into your bloodstream. Well, this is causing a host of autoimmune conditions. And people talk about all these autoimmune conditions, and really there's There's only one way to fix this, and it's to fix your gut. This is why I'm so passionate about gut health. We have to understand gut health is basically our health. If our gut is toxic and our gut is broken, then we are broken. So we really need to fix our gut, and then we can clear up those autoimmune conditions and prevent a lot of other types of disease. So sugar crowds out the healthy food choices, and it creates those mood and emotional imbalances. So again, if you got your hand out there, hopefully you're writing some of these down, especially maybe some that more affect you than others. Make sure that you're writing those down, because I think that these should be a real eye opener to what we really need to be doing and avoiding. So sugar chemical substitutes are even worse. And we know, we've heard these for years, the saccharin, aspartame, sucralose. They're very dangerous, but most people don't realize how dangerous erythritol is. And that is a popular sugar substitute in today's world. Again, I'm going to share what we can do instead, but we need to understand that most of the time that is genetically modified, and that's where it can be dangerous. And almost everybody I talk to, and I've experienced it myself, not knowing that I was eating erythritol, I felt like I had the flu all day. And it is because I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving Day. And you know, the pies, you have to taste a little bit of each one. And they were all sugar-free, but they were with erythritol. And I was sick the rest of the day. So it's not good for your gut. And most of the time it's genetically modified. So we want to avoid these, along with some of these other sugars mentioned. Avoid them all, because these are running our gut, they're running our health, and we have a higher risk for disease and disorder in our bodies. So here's the real problem with sugar and sweeteners. Most people don't have a fence, or they don't know where the fence is. They don't know where to draw the line, when to stop, or how much is enough. And so I ask people, do you know where the fence is when it comes to sugar? Now, years ago, at one of my retreats, I had one of the women come for the second time. And she pulled me aside, actually, and she said, do I really have to give up sugar? And I said, is it what throws you off? Is it your weak area? And she said, yes, it really is. And I said, well, I can't answer that for you. You have to figure that out on your own. But I have found that if you don't have a fence, you don't know where the boundaries are. And that was her problem. She told me, she says, once I eat one cookie, I can't stop until I've eaten a dozen. And most people don't know where the fence is. And that's why I've learned for myself, when I had my naturopath doctor tell me over 45 years ago, give up sugar for life, I realized that I had to do that, because I know where the fence is at none. And most people don't know. They eat a bite, but then they want another bite. And it's very typical. That is where the addiction comes in. That's where the problem is, because people don't have a fence. So you need to know where your fence is. If you're strong enough to really stop after one tiny taste, then great. Most people don't have that willpower. So I just encourage you to really set up kind of a fence or guideline on what you can do for yourself to protect yourself. And then we want to talk about healthy sweeteners, and we're going to talk about those now. So one of my favorites over the years I turned to was honey, because honey goes through your digestive system much slower. It doesn't quickly raise your blood sugar levels like sugar does. It goes very slowly. And why? Because it's full of vitamins and minerals. And so it's a great sweetener. So is like pure maple syrup, I use this on occasion, especially sometimes I love the flavor of pure maple. And in recipes, there's a lot of recipes that I do use the pure maple with. And also this is the coconut sugar. And you can see it's kind of like a brown sugar. Turbinado sugar is much that way. I haven't used turbinado in years, but it is basically your unrefined sugar. Now that is way better than regular refined sugar, because remember, refined sugar, no vitamins and minerals, no fiber, and they've even bleached it. And you don't want that. So turbinado sugar looks much like this. It's kind of a darker brown sugar, but you'll notice that brown sugar is where they've refined it, then they've added molasses back into it. Well, that's no good. We want it unrefined, period. And that is why you want either turbinado sugar or one of these other sugars. So the only drawback to all of these, and even fresh fruit, is that they still, even though they're nutritive sugars, they still can raise your glycemic index. They still have calories. And so you have to make sure that you're going to eat these sugars in moderation. And again, sometimes that's even difficult with your good sweeteners. You still need to know where to stop. And like I said, even dried fruits or fresh fruits, you can definitely overdo that. And a lot of people do. In fact, a lot of people I work with, and they bring their kids up this way, is they bring them up on fruit, but not vegetables. And so children learn to love, love, love fruits, and they eat a lot of fruits, but they don't get their vegetables in. So we need to understand these are healthy, but eat moderately. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other sugars. Now, allulose, this is something I prepackaged. It looks like a sugar, but it actually comes from figs, raisins, even wheat, but it is only 70% as sweet as sugar. So if a recipe calls for a cup, then you'll want to do a cup and a third, somewhere in there, to get the same type of sweetness. But I found what I really like allulose for, straight allulose, is things that you want to keep soft. For instance, if you like making homemade frozen desserts, and I love to on occasion, during the summer, use the allulose so that when you put it in the freezer, the leftover, you can get it out and it's still soft. So allulose is what makes that. However, I made the mistake of making kind of like a peanut brittle for Christmas, and I used allulose, and it never got hard. So allulose keeps things soft. Just keep that in mind. But one of my favorite has been monk fruit. But monk fruit is normally blended with something else. It comes from the monk fruit. It is a fruit, and it is not genetically modified, but it's often combined with erythritol. And I was guilty of that. I started reading some of my labels, and some of the popular brands of monk fruit are with erythritol. And I thought, that's why I don't feel good after I eat these. So you have to make sure and find it either with stevia or with allulose. That's the blends that I find it best in. Now, I will tell you something, that these are kind of expensive. You won't be able to afford them if you go and buy them at the grocery store or at the health food store. They're almost, I don't know, $10 a cup, it seems like. Not that much, but it seems like. So you need to find a place to buy them in bulk. And I always order mine online, and I do order them in bulk. But I will tell you, you don't use as much when it's more pricey. I love having it in my home so that when I need it, I have it. But make sure that you are wise in where you purchase it. Okay, last but not least is stevia. And I usually like it in this form. I add stevia, liquid stevia to my teas, my warm and cold drinks, because just a few drops is very good for sweetening. Now, I have grown stevia in my garden. It's a green leaf and it is super, super sweet. So they do extract the properties from or separate it from the fiber. And I like this brand because it is, I feel like, least refined, because I see a lot of clear stevia and I'm thinking that's too refined for me. So I would rather do that. But as I was preparing for this presentation, I looked in my cupboard and I go, spoonable stevia. I bought this many, many years ago and I've really actually never used it. It's kind of because I thought, I don't even know what these other ingredients are. And what are the other ingredients? Erythritol. And I'm going, okay, this is going in the garbage because it is stevia, but it's with erythritol, and I really want to avoid erythritol. So I don't think that that's, they're trying to make it in a spoonable way. Just one tip is many of my recipes call for powdered monk fruit, and that could be a powdered monk fruit allulose mix. But what I do is I just put a cup at a time in my blender and I just powder it myself. Very easy to do, only takes 2 minutes to do it. And then I have some for like whipped cream. You can make the best whipping cream just with the top of the can of coconut milk, the coconut cream, and a little bit of the powdered monk fruit vanilla. And I always add my wild orange essential oil. So there's ways to be able to do these things, dairy-free, sugar-free, and even gluten-free. I'm going to share several things with you this evening.
Erlene, what was that brand of the liquid stevia that you were showing?
It is called Sweet Leaf Whole Leaf.
Okay. All right.
Sweet Leaf has a lot of different flavors and types of stevia drops, but like I said, I really like the stevia concentrate. That's kind of what I look for, and it's just not refined at all. So yeah, great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're going to learn how to use these, and I'm going to basically turn off the PowerPoint and show you these things. So this is the fun part, because I like, sharing kind of hands-on, especially things that we can do with holidays and our upcoming Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day to me is a fun month to make some fun things. So there's several things that I'm going to kind of show you tonight, but I'm going to start with making some carob. So the carob chips are what I do use. And I just want to kind of show you this. If you're not familiar with carob, carob is a pod that comes from a tree. Chocolate also comes from a big fruit from a tree. But carob comes from a pod, and it's about 6 inches long. It grows in more of the desert. I'm in Arizona. Carob grows all over the Phoenix Mesa Valley. Plentifully, there's a lot of carob trees there, but it much resembles chocolate, and you can do a lot of things in about the same way. So these are just kind of the little carob chips. But the thing that's different than chocolate, and why I use carob, I use it for a number of reasons. Actually, by naturopath years ago told me to give up caffeine for life. And that was for a very important reason. And he mentioned chocolate. So I had to find something else. And so carob is naturally sweet. In fact, these carob chips have no sweetening in them whatsoever. In fact, you can see the bag says unsweetened at the bottom. So they're completely unsweetened, and you can use them in much the same way as you can chocolate. And so it's kind of nice to be able to know that you can still have something that's, you know, comparable to chocolate if you can't have chocolate. But I feel like it's a very healthy food. And so you might want to do some research. But for these recipes, whether you want to do the carrot chips or the chocolate chips, either way, it works. So what I do, first of all, is get a double boiler pan and I put a little bit of water in the bottom. And then I melt 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, unrefined, and 1 cup of carrot chips. Now I don't measure. It's just a spoonful of the coconut oil, about, you know, a cup of carrot chips. That's what I do. And then you have some carob that you can work with. That is very nice for making some sweet treats. So in doing so, it takes having some molds. Now, these are silicone molds. For instance, this one is one of my favorite ones. And then I have others that look like these. And I actually have a lot of different molds for different types of candies for the year. So it's kind of fun to make something like a peanut butter cup, like a Reese's peanut butter cup. You can do that by mixing up a peanut butter dough. And I have these recipes on YouTube. So this is 1 cup of peanut butter, 1/3 of a cup of either honey or allulose monk fruit, whichever you would like to use. And then 1/3 of a cup of protein powder, or I have like a coconut milk powder that's non-dairy. So now I've also added like cinnamon and wild orange. These are some of my favorites to add to this type of mixture too. Now, I'm not really a peanut butter person though, per se. So most of the time I really choose to do an almond butter sunflower mix instead of the peanut butter. So I'm doing kind of half and half of the sunflower almond butter mix. And that, again, same sweetening and protein powder and oils, vanilla. And this also, and so you could do either, whichever is your preference. I just think the almond butter and sunflower butter is a healthier choice. Then what I do is I will get this carob, and I think I'll just start with the little ones, you know, for tonight. We're just going to put a little bit in the bottom of these little molds, and you try to make it in the middle, but you know, sometimes it gets a little dripsy. Okay, so kind of like this. Then I get the dough. I kind of make it into a round button first, just kind of turning it around, and then I kind of just somewhat make it into a heart shape, kind of like that, and then put it in there. And sometimes you go way over the top. I would put way too much in that one. So let me try the next one, see if we can get this not quite so full. But this is how you would do any of the molds, whether they're big, whether they're small. You can even buy the Reese's peanut butter cup molds, or just, I always feel like this is a pretty good mid-afternoon snack, or better than a dessert, because it's not something sugary. It's actually a pretty good food. So we've put that in there, and then just fill them with this on top. Now, like I said, you can get the molds. I get the molds online, and there's all kinds available. And it's really nice to be able to have molds for every occasion. So then I put them in the refrigerator, the freezer. And then after you put them in the freezer, whoops, they're running out. Then you just pop them out. And this is what they look like. There's all kinds of, the hearts. And you can even do suckers. There's a sucker mold, you can get the sucker sticks and different heart shapes. So it's just kind of fun to do these. And I actually did a class last week and we did some of the peanut butter and some of the almond butter, and kind of fun to make different heart molds and very easy to do. Another fun thing that you can do that I really enjoy doing at this time of year, and this is a great, sometimes a breakfast thing, but it's great dessert too. I have these little tiny silicone molds, and they kind of come, several kind of like cupcakes. I found they don't work well as a cupcake, but they really work nice as these types of molds. I and my daughters took a vacation to Vegas several years ago, and we saw these in the mall where we were. Anyway, you put these in there and you put them in the freezer, and then you just peel it off. And after you peel it off, we're going to add some raspberries and some blueberries in here. And like I said, we first saw this at a bakery. It was so cute. I thought we've got to go home and make those. So doesn't that look cute? You can kind of see that. Trying to keep it from, okay. And then what you can do, and what they did, and I thought, well, it was so fun, is that you get it and you kind of just drizzle it back and forth. So there you got that little heart. Hopefully you can see it. Filled cup with berries. So it's kind of fun to do that. And that's a fun thing to do. So other thing, I know you've seen dipped strawberries. There's so many fun things that you can do with strawberries. Just, you want your strawberries to be kind of cold, that you just basically roll them in there. And like I said, you can do this with chocolate or carob, either way. And then once you do that, just put them on a parchment lined paper and let them cool. If they're cold strawberries, they'll cool really fast. And they work really fast. It's kind of fun. And then you feel like you're doing some fun things with fruits, and doesn't take long to do them. Yeah, make sure you keep the stems on, because that's the way you can grab them. And so that's a fun thing to do with the strawberries. Very simple. Oh, I was going to show you this mold is a kind of the peanut butter cup mold, and super fun to be able to have this mold and be able to make some cute little peanut butter cups or almond butter cups, whatever you like to make. So, all right, next, my friend made these boxes with a Cricut. If anybody has a Cricut or knows somebody with a Cricut, there's instructions of making these cute little boxes, and you can actually package them. Look at that. Isn't that fun to be able to make your own and then package them in a box that she said you can make them in 2 minutes. So it was kind of fun to be able to put the box together. So you can make kind of a nice little gift for your spouse or someone else that you love. So one more thing I wanted to show you is making some strawberry cream puffs. Now these are gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. You'd never know that. But I made some gluten-free cream puffs. They're super simple to make. You'd never know they are this simple. So go to that YouTube link and see how simple they are. But basically what you do is, after you get the cream puffs, you slice them open, which I did already, but then you want to spoon out kind of the filament that's inside in the center. And once you have that filament scooped out, then it's got that hole, and then that's where you put the cream. So you can probably eat the filament in different ways, but anyway, so this is my coconut cream. That's strawberry. So I blended up the strawberries, and it's the coconut cream off the top with a little bit of the powdered monk fruit. And then it has the wild orange and the vanilla in it. And you just fill these up. And they are the best cream puffs. They're so delicious. So I invite you to really see how delicious they are. And like I said, these are great at any time of year and could be for a lot of different holiday or events. But they're kind of fun for Valentine's Day because they are completely sugar-free, dairy-free, and gluten-free. And they taste wonderful. You'd never know that it was any of those things. So keep that in mind in making, those types of things for different events. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great evening, and have fun.